It's time now for today's Game Show Legends Week. This morning, Wink Martindale of Tic Tac Doe. Now here's Al Roker.
Once again, thank you, Don Pardo, after hosting a whopping 19 game shows during his career. Some might call Wink Martindale the ultimate quizmaster. Of course, he's always going to be best remembered for his role in the classic show Tic Tac Doe, which he presided over for nearly 8 years. So with the help of the Game Show Network and Columbia TriStar, we thought we'd take a look back at the program that appealed to the kid in all of us. Who would have thought that a simple kids game would become a successful television game show? But that's exactly what happened when Tic Tac Doe hit the airwaves in 1956 with original host Jack Barry.
If you were served escargot, what kind of shellfish would you be eating?
Snails.
Snails is right. You get an extra. Game is at $400.
Now, you didn't really need to be a rocket scientist to grasp the strategy, as players tried to put an X or an O in 3 boxes, either across, up, down, or diagonally. The show was later canceled in 1959, but 19 years later,
it's everybody's game of strategy, knowledge, and fun. It's Tic Tac Doe.
It was back with legendary game show host Wink Martindale at the helm. Once again, it was a hit. Producers increased the prize money, and a new bonus game was added.
Look, are you going to the kitchen with this?
Yes! Tic Tac combined with Joker's Wild in the 70s and throughout the early 80s, they were as big and as popular as Wheel and Jeopardy are today. They were big money makers.
Much of that had to do with a former disc jockey by the name of Wink Martindale.
Host gets to hold the lady's hand.
He had hosted numerous game shows during his long career, but he reached new heights when he hosted Tic Tac Doe for almost 8 years.
Wink Martindale is a great communicator. There's a skill to be able to read questions unencumbered in a fast way, where the contestants at home and in the studio can understand what you're saying. And Wink did that to perfection.
Name this detective.
Shaft.
Right for Tic Tac Doe.
So what was behind Tic Tac Doe's success?
I think it was something that appealed to people in general and that folks could relate to.
The recipe for Tic Tac Doe, 3 ingredients: great MC, easy game to play, big money.
And Wink Martindale, good morning. Good to meet you.
Hey, Al, thank you. You started the week with Bob, and you end the week with Wink. My mama and them would be proud. So proud.
Everybody has been asking, is Wink your real name?
No, actually, Winston is my real name. Winston Conrad Martindale.
Where'd Wink come from?
I used to play with a kid across the street when we were about 6 years old, Jimmy McCord. He couldn't say Winston, and somehow it came out Winky, so I became the Winky Martindale of Jackson, Tennessee.
Well, I'm glad they shortened it to Wink.
I should think up a better story, but that's the truth.
That's it. Well, that's a good one. Now, you did this show for almost 8 years.
Yeah.
In your career, 19 game shows.
Yeah, I never could hold a job. You just go from one show to the next.
How did you get started in the game show biz? I know you were in radio.
I became addicted to a show that Alan Ludden did around 1964 called Password. I just loved it.
Yeah.
Watched it every day. And I read about Alan on that show, and I found out that he plays golf 6 days a week, and one day he goes in and does 5 shows. And he comes back a week later. I said, this is not a bad way to make a buck. So I talked to him. I said, why don't I send me on a game show interview, which he did. And I think I got the first show that I interviewed for, which was at NBC, What's This Song? In fact, the NBC executives, as you are well aware here in New York, they get paid the big bucks for making the big decisions.
Oh, sure they do.
There were Bob Aaron, who was head of daytime at that time, thought Wink was too juvenile sounding, so they shortened my name to Win. So for a year, I was Win Martindale.
Oh, my.
Yeah, he probably got a raise for that.
That's right. What do you do this show, and you've got to bring the best out in the contestants. And there was one contestant we saw him during the piece, Tom McKee.
Yeah, Tom McKee.
He had a big impact on the show, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. It was our first season too, Al, and it was the best thing that could have happened to our show. We had just started, and he was the quintessential game show contestant. He wore the uniform of our country, lieutenant in the Navy. He had a beautiful wife named Jenny, whom we showed in the audience all the time, and she just happened to be pregnant.
Oh, man.
And she would come up on stage. He was in the Guinness Book of World Records, still is, until Regis. You know that guy Regis with that millionaire show?
I heard of it.
Tom won $312,700 and 8 cars during the run on Tic Tac Doe. He was on 46 straight days. I know he gave his brother in Africa, he was a missionary in Africa, he gave him a car. He sold the other 7 and bought himself a Mercedes and put the other money in the bank. And he still to this day has a personalized license plate that says Tic Tac, which he should, right? But he was something. He was really something.
Now, you're doing this, you did this game show. It was a huge success. But people don't realize, in your radio days, I mean, you were a good friend of Elvis.
Yeah, I started at the age of 17 in radio and still do radio called Music of Your Life around the country. But I had just won a job on Clock Watchers in Memphis at WHBQ and happened to be at the radio station the night that Sam Phillips walked in with the first Elvis record, Blue Moon of Kentucky, and That's All Right, Mom.
This interview we're looking at?
Okay, this came 2 years after I met him. I met him that night in 1954, and this was my, remember when every city had its Dick Clark? Sure. I was sort of the Dick Clark of Memphis. I did a Saturday afternoon teenage dance party, and Elvis, because we had known each other since 54, he came on my show for an interview, and I think this is one of the, if not the first, one of the first filmed interviews that he ever gave. Colonel Parker never forgave me because Colonel wanted Elvis to be paid for everything. Oh. No free interviews. But I still have that film, and I cherish it.
That's great. We thank you for sharing that. Real quickly, what are you up to today?
Well, now I do Music of Your Life around the country, a couple hundred stations every day, which I do from home. Yeah, that's nice. I'll teach you how to get that kind of a gig one of these days out. Do the weather from home. Won't have to get up at 4 o'clock. I published my autobiography on the internet, and just finished a CD called Winking at Life, which can be found on winkingatlife.com. Just get that in there. And that includes a record that I made years ago. It sold 1 million, called Deck of Cards. And it's followed me my entire career, about a soldier who used a deck of cards in church because he didn't have a Bible. And the most recent thing that's happened to me that I'm real excited about, the McCone Gaming Corporation in Las Vegas is creating a series of Wink Martindale slot machines, which will be out in September. So I'm kind of excited.
If I kind of pump your arm, you'll give me some money. Well, all right.
Somebody asked me about this tie a while ago. I said, I played Monty Hall. I said, if you have a driver's license in your pocket, I'll give you this for $1.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.